Hi everybody, and welcome back to Plastic Models by a Regular Dude. Today, a little bit of primer experimentation. Okay, today, as you can see, I've got my handy dandy paint donkey here. It's an Edward FW190. And I've used it for quite a few things, and I've got this stripped down to the plastic, and I'm not going to tell you how I did that because I may be able to show you after I do the primer. But here's what I'm going to do. I've been having a dilemma lately with stuff sticking to plastic. I used to be pretty confident with Stynylrez Res primer, but it has let me down horribly. So I'm going to try a little bit of experimentation today. And here are the products I am going to use. So here are the products I am using today. I'm going to use Mission Models Primer Black MMS001. And I'm going to mix it according to Mission Models instructions. Then I've got Ammo One Shot. Now it's in this bottle because I don't like the kind of bottles that Ammo packages their primers in. It's those type of bottles where you kind of push here and it pops open. It's got a little slit. I hate them. So I put it in here, and I can also put a mixing ball in to make sure it gets mixed up really well. So got that. Then I am going to use Tamiya X1, which is gloss black, straight out of the bottle, using X20A thinner. And I'm going to try that as a primer. So once I do that, I'm going to try some paints on top of it if they work. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to spray this one here with the X1, this part here with the One Shot, and this part here with the Mission Models primer. So I'm not really gonna show the whole spray session. I'll show the mixing and I'll show the initial spraying so you see exactly how I'm mixing it and what I'm doing with it. So let me get some mixed up and I will come back. Okay, for the Mission Models, I am going to use one of these to mix my primer in. So they recommend 25% thinner to primer ratio. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 demarcations here. So I will fill this up to the 0.5 milliliter, I guess, mark, and then the rest with the primer, and then get it shaken up really well. Okay, I've got it mixed up in the appropriate ratios. And one thing to note is that if you're familiar with Mission Models paints, they have their paint, they have the thinner, and then they have a poly additive. The poly additive is not supposed to be used with the primer. Just saying. So I'm going to pour some in my, normally I use a different airbrush for this, but for this I'm going to use the same one on everything. HP M2 by Iwata. It's a single action. I use it for small priming jobs pretty frequently, and it works really well. So let me get this set up. And additionally, those little vials are really awesome. I get these from Model Paint Solutions. They have a website. His name's John. He's got a website, and he has awesome tutorials and stuff like that, as well as these awesome little things. And he does sell paints as well. Not getting anything for saying that. Just he's a good guy. Great online shop. So credit where credit's due. All right, enough blabbing. Let's get spraying. All right, now with Mission Models, it's recommended to put on like a tack coat and then spray the final coat. So I'm just going to spray a light tack coat here like that. kind of dry it up a little bit. And then spray a heavier coat. Okay, so now I'm going to let that dry a little bit, clean up my airbrush, and we'll come back. And the next one I will do will be the Tamiya X1 here, since that's still exposed. And then we'll do the ammo one shot. Okay, so for the X1, and the reason I'm using the X1 and not XF1, which is the flat, is because I want the finish to be somewhat similar. Because this is not a flat, this is more of a semi-gloss. And since I'm just going to be spraying the Tamiya on here, just shooting it on there, it's going to come out more semi-gloss. So that's the reason why I'm using X1 instead of XF1. So for that, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to use my same stuff here. I am going to use this little dropper majig here, and going 0.5, and this Tamiya I mix 50-50, so 1 part thinner to 1 part paint, and in this case it's the 0.5 millimeter or milliliter, using my handy dandy eyedroppers. Like that. And then using a Tamiya paint stirrer, I'm just going to mix that up really good. This is real time, folks. I'm not doing anything shady off camera. Okay, so 50-50. So let me cap this up, set it aside, and then I'll cap up my paint and my thinner, and then come back and spray it. Okay, same airbrush, same thing. Make sure it's spraying nicely. All right. And since I've got this 50-50, I'm going to have to layer it up. And the nice thing about this stuff is it dries super fast. If I was using like a lacquer thinner, it glue up even quicker, or dry even quicker, glue up. Throw on a pretty good dose there. Okay, then let that dry and clean my airbrush. So while that's drying, before I do the before I peel the tape and do the ammo one shot, I just wanted to say that the nice thing about Tamiya paint is, even though it's more of a solvent-based acrylic, I can use the same cleaner that I use for the ammo one shot and the Mission Models primer. Anything I use for water-based acrylics, which is this Media airbrush cleaner. And it works really well. And again, the nice thing about it is even if you're using Tamiya and water-based acrylics on the same kit, by using the same cleaner for both, you don't have to worry about any kind of weird cross-contamination as long as you get all the paint out. It's not like using lacquer thinner or something like that, which might make these things act weird if you go immediately from one color to another. So that's kind of a cool thing. So this one's dry to the touch. I'm not going to touch that one yet. So I'm going to let these dry really well. And then I'll come back and I'll be doing two things with the, when I tape off this for the ammo one shot. I'm going to be putting tape on this primer and tape on this paint to mask off so I can spray the one shot. Once I spray the one shot, I will peel the tape off and see if it lifts any of this Mission Models primer or the Tamiya X1. Then once I do that, put more tape on top of the ammo one shot and we'll see what happens there. But let's go ahead and peel this off of this bare plastic. See the nice delineation there, and we'll come back. All right, so it's been about 3 hours since I put these on here. These first two primers, yes, I said 3 hours. And I'm going to put some tape on them. My tape of choice, which is Tamiya. I'm going to overlap it just a little bit because I want to have a clear delineation between the two. And yes, I'm going to smear them down because I want to see what this stuff's going to do. For sure, because I don't want paint peeling up in the future just because I stick some tape on it. Like that. And if all this goes well, then I'm going to be doing some paint tests. So we shall see. All right, so there's that. So I've got my ammo one shot. All right, I'm going to use the same airbrush. And from what I hear, some people thin ammo one shot, which is, by the way, Badger Stynel Res, just rebottled for ammo. They also do it for Ultimate Modeling products. So it is essentially all the same thing. We're going to see how this one works, because I have a sneaky suspicion I know what is going to happen. Okay, so this stuff, you just hose it on there. Nice wet coat. And its self-leveling properties will just do its thing. So there we go. So now, clean my airbrush, we'll let that dry and see what happens. Okay, it's had a few minutes to dry, and dry enough to pull the tape off. So let's see what happens. This is X1. Nothing. That's pretty awesome. Mission Models. Nothing. So far so good. So I am going to let that dry more before I stick some tape on it. So let's let that sit, and then we'll come back. Okay, this has had a chance to dry overnight, so let's take a look. We got Mission Models Black, we've got Ammo One Shot, and we've got Tamiya X1 Gloss Black paint. So, first, let's observe the sheens. The Mission Models is kind of a semi-gloss. The ammo is pretty flat, and then obviously the gloss paint is glossy. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of my handy dandy Tamiya paint or masking tape, which is what I use, not de-tacked or anything like that on my sweaty arm. Put it on there like that. Okay, and let's see what happens. Maybe. All right, no peelage. So that's pretty cool and interesting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it right here on this seam part. Where it would probably come off a little easier. Oh, it's pretty cool. All right, so with that, I think the next thing I'm going to do is let's throw down some paint and see what we can do. So I think what I'm going to do is I need a white base. So let's see. Let me see what white paints I have. Figure out. What I'm going to do here. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to tape this off again, and I am going to spray a white base, which is Mission Models Insignia white, and then I'm going to spray Vallejo metal color aluminum as a base, and then leave black. And then that way I can experiment with the two reds I want to use, or I want to try to see which one would be the best red for the application I'm wanting to use it for. Okay, I've got this taped off, so the first thing I'm going to spray is the Mission Models Insignia white. I'm going to spray that down here. Then, using Mission Models white primer as kind of a top coat paint type thing, I'll spray that over here, and then in the center I will spray the metal color. So let me get this all set up and get some paint mixed up. And I'm going to mix the paint the same as I did before with the Mission Models. 25% paint or thinner, and the rest paint. Whoops, it's the primer, so I need the paint first. Actually, what I'm going to do, since I've got some mixed up, I'm going to spray the white primer first. So we'll do that first since I've already got it mixed up. Okay, again, using Mission Models. Tack coat first. Dry that a little bit with some air. And then apply it. Whoops, a little bit of splatters going on there. It's all right. Nice thing this is, it dries pretty quickly. I also recommend 20 minutes before application of paint over Mission Models primers. I think that'll do for my testing purposes. It's pretty opaque. You can still see my white stripe right there, but that's quite a contrast between the white and the black underneath. So, again, for what I'm doing here, that's good. All right, so we'll let that dry. Okay, so with that done, I'm going to peel this off. And this one is slightly detacked, but I'm going to put it on this side. The reason I'm doing that is because I want all the tape to have the same tackiness whenever I test it. Blame it. So I'm going to put this here just to cover it. Whoops. While I paint Insignia white on the other side. Right there. So again, I'm going to use Mission Models and Insignia white in one of my spiffy little test tubes. And in the same ratio. So let me get that mixed up. The one difference this time will be that I am using the Mission Models with poly additive. So let's get this filled up. All right, so let's give it a shot here. No pun intended. Something loose in. Oh, the engine's loose. Then base layer. Dry it a little bit. Another little bit heavier coat on there. Assist with drying here. And I realize that this is probably just drying the upper or outer portion, whatever you want to call it, and it has to cure all the way through, but this at least is allowing me to layer it up a bit. So here's something interesting though, while we're looking at it. Where I sprayed the X1, it's a lot more transparent than on here. This also seems to be a little, I don't want to say grainier, but kind of interesting. Dry that. Again, I want to stress, I'm trying to do all of the actual stuff in real time here, so we get a good idea of how all this is working. Isn't that wonderful? All that spraying. No sound of a compressor. Just the hiss of CO2 propelling paint. Okay, so we got the Insignia white sprayed, and here is an interesting thing. It didn't cover on this X1 very well at all. So I'm thinking XF1 would have been better. However, c'est la vie. So let's go ahead and take this off and not be gentle about it. Got a little bit of underspray, but that's because I didn't jam the tape down very well all the way. I did here, but not there. So it looks okay, but I'm not going for precision or anything like that right now. I am going for painting stuff, testing primers. So we got that down. So now I'm going to do the silver. So I'm going to overlap it just a little bit so I leave a demarcation. So let's put the tape back on. This time I will make sure it's covering good. I didn't get the end there. Crikey. All right, so there's that. So let me get this all shooked up, and then we'll spray that on. Okay, with this, I didn't thin it because, whoa, it's not supposed to be thinned because it's already quite thin. So this, I'm just gonna spray it on here pretty well. Looking pretty good. Don't want to get it too heavy. I don't want it to puddle up. This stuff will do some weird things if you pile it on there too much. All right, so that looks pretty good. So let's let that dry. Okay, being a big fat simpleton, I did a whole lot of taping and talking and blah, blah, blah to spray the end, but I had screwed up. So here's what happened. I just put some tape on here and sprayed the Insignia red by Mission Models. MP101, using the same 25% thinner, 75% paint. So as you can see, probably this is very, very orange. I mean seriously orange. Anybody that has one of these stinking Infinity easy cutting type 8 mats, you can see there's not a whole lot of, I mean, this is a little yellower, a little lighter, but that is definitely an orange. So regardless of what happens here, I will not be using that color to do my Insignia red on the aircraft I'm working on. But I'm gonna let it dry really well and then come back and do the Mission Models MMP003 regular, just plain red, and see what that looks like, because that's the real gist of this whole experiment, is to see how the primer and paint all handle up to rough handling with tape and so forth, but also to see which base would be the best for what I want to do with the red on white, on Insignia white, and then on silver as some, or aluminum like someone suggested. So let that dry really well and then come back, peel the tape off, put some tape on it, and we'll do the other red. Okay, so this has had a couple hours to dry, so let's go ahead and peel this off. Now this is really gnarly tape, so let's see if that peels anything off. Nope. If this was on a model kit that I didn't want to mess up, it'd probably pull it right off. That's the way it works. Okay, so we got that, so let's put some tape here. You know what? And, oh crap. And here. And here. Fold that over like the other ones. That. And then there. And there, like that. So that leaves this. So let's take the plain red Mission Models paint and the Mission Models with poly. Get that mixed up. Same ratios as before. Spray that on there. Okay, so we got the red here. Funny feeling this come out real pink. So let's shoot a tack coat on there. Try it. Yeah, see how pink that looks? That is one of the things that makes it rough, spraying red onto white. Now it's getting opaque, so it looks a whole lot better. Now, part of the reason that I would really like to be able to, see, that looks pretty good. It's a nice opaque paint job going on there. But one of the reasons I would like to be able to use white for my base is because the markings are white and red, so I can lay down white, mask off what I need to, and then spray the red over, peel the mask off, boom, I've got my markings. So I'm thinking this is the way to do it. But in addition to that, I'm also wanting to test how durable this stuff is. All right, so we'll let that dry, clean my airbrush, we'll come back. All right, let's peel some tape off of here and see what we got. Well, no tape came off, so that's pretty cool. But there you can see a severe difference between this Insignia red and red. So for future reference, I will definitely be using that for my red colors on Insignia. So what have we learned today? Well, that all three of these are sticking pretty good as far as the primer. I'm really stoked about that because I was having some real trouble with some of the other primers, the other Stylorez primers, which are more recent, and from what I've read, there have been problems with it. So I don't know. So let's do one more sticky test on here. I'm going to really stick this stuff on here and see if I can. I almost broke the plastic. So looks like I don't have a problem here. If I stick with these items, I think I will be good in whatever I paint. So that's that. So today, in this video, I tested the Mission Models black primer, the Ammo one-shot primer, which is basically Stynylrez rebottled for ammo, and black X1 Tamiya paint. And they all worked really well. None of these peeled off, none of these peeled off. So my little experiment is complete. I was going to do this anyway, and I thought, you know, it might be entertaining to actually do it on video just so you can see that this stuff is not really as fragile as some think, and as long as you're getting the good stuff, it works really well. So I'm really stoked with that. So hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you have any questions or comments or any further suggestions on this stuff, or if you have any experience with it, good or bad, please put them in the comments section down below. So until next time, when I come back with some more video on a project I'm working on, thanks for watching Plastic Models by a Regular Dude, and I will see you all later.